So the third and final Doctor Who 60th anniversary special is here, and there's quite a lot to talk about. Obviously, I have loads of by-generation opinions that I'm going to save till the end of the video, so you can remain in suspense until then, because there's a lot of episode to talk about before that. So without further ado, let's get into Doctor Who The Giggle. So we pick up pretty much exactly where the cliffhanger left off, although tragically with less Wilf. So everyone is awful and the world is on fire. But enough about the real world, let's talk about Doctor Who. That doesn't feel like much of a joke, because that's obviously exactly what Russell's doing with the episode. That's the very thinly veiled social commentary. You know, you've got awful politicians, awful voters, awful media people. We get Trinity Wells on her anti-vax show on Fox News, essentially, and I think a very clever way to bring her back. And yeah, it feels like a very angry script from Russell T Davies. It feels, you know, he is pissed off at the state of the world in quite a few different areas, and this threat kind of covers it, and covers it in a way that is both, you know, it's making a point, but also it's scary. It's like, you know, how do you combat this as, you know, as the saviors, as the people who aren't affected by it? And I think I liked feeling the anger from the script, feeling that through the Doctor, and having him be frustrated with the human race at their ability to be manipulated like this, and the fact that, you know, the prejudices and the anger that they are kind of displaying through all this, that's coming from somewhere. And I think, yeah, it's the Doctor almost speaking, or Russell speaking through the Doctor and going, come on, guys, be better than this. I thought that was really effective. The way it was transmitted, it felt a little derivative. It felt a little like, I mean, obviously it wasn't the satellite, but it was this hidden message in something. And they brought up the Archangel Network to say, well, it's not like the Archangel Network, come on. But it almost was like, yeah, but you've put that in my mind now, and now all I think of is the fact that these are very, very similar things. But fine, and it got the ball rolling really nicely and effectively, and I think using Kate to display the actual effect, the exact effect it was having, you know, that's a character we're familiar with. I think that was a really great way of doing that. And I quite like Unit as an HQ, Unit Towers, Unit whatever. I like that they are a presence in the story. I said this in the Star Beast, but, you know, this kind of proper set, this proper base of operations that I hope we will see more of, and the fact there's supporting characters, and we get the old Murray Gold first Russell T Davies era unit theme, get little hints of that you know, that's exciting. But yeah, I hope this is something we keep visiting, and that, you know, we get a cast of reliably appearing supporting characters, that it's not like Unit is made up of two people and we will see them sometimes, and other times it will be like they don't exist. I mean, obviously right now it feels like Osgood doesn't exist, but yeah, I think if we could keep going back to Shirley, it kind of feels like she's part of the core ensemble cast now, which is pretty impressive after just 2 appearances. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see more of her, obviously. Kate is not a character I've ever really loved, Kate Stewart, but I think seeing her here and having her be this, as I said, a familiar character going through the events of the Giggle, and obviously I think seeing how kind of worn down she's been by these events, and the fact that it really has clearly shaken her, I think that's effective. And yeah, if they keep bringing Kate back and keep bringing more depth to her, then I'm all for it, absolutely. And the Vlinks, I love when there's just a weird, unexplained thing that's like, yeah, Unit has stuff going on outside of the Doctor. Mel, I thought, was wonderful. I mean, I've seen Mel's classic stories, but she's never been one of my favourites. But seeing her again, and her reintroduction both to the audience and to the Doctor, was really, really lovely. And obviously, it put me in mind of School Reunion and Sarah Jane being brought back. But we know she's going to be a recurring character in some form going forward, and I really don't hate that at all. I thought she was a great presence in this episode. Donna was, I guess if we're talking supporting side characters in this, Donna this episode was almost in her most companion role yet of these specials. You know, she was really, really major player in the Star Beast, and obviously one of 4 major players, 2 of 4 major players in Wild Blue Yonder. But this time she really was the Doctor's companion in a sense, and that's fine. That's who she is, and that's kind of how the story needed her to be. But yeah, this isn't her episode to shine, but that's fine because she had 2 of those anyway. She did have some great moments though. I loved her scene with the puppets. I thought it was hilarious, but also quite creepy and unsettling. All the puppet stuff this episode was really weird and I think creative. You know, the Doctor puppet, the man puppet, the babies, the wife. the burning puppet face, and that horrible, that dummy being used on the television, and that image is haunting and terrible. And I can't believe it's not a Doctor Who creation. It kind of fits right in with the Toymaker's whole thing, and the fact that that's actually a historical thing that they're drawing on is really cool. And on the topic of the Toymaker's whole thing, great. I think his domain was really weird and creepy, and I like how much it bothers the Doctor that there are no rules, and he clings to this logic, and it's almost like what works so well about the Satan Pit and the Impossible Planet is that when these rules are questioned, it's really interesting to see the Doctor struggle with that, and kind of these truths that he clings to have them completely disregarded by a being is great. I do wonder if the Toymaker's domain could have been weirder. I guess it is just quite a lot of corridors that don't go anywhere and looping doors and things like that. But I guess with puppets, that's also good. And also, it stops being about that and starts being about specifically how it torments the Doctor. And we get the puppet show and the Toymaker twisting the knives of all the companions that the Doctor's lost since he left Donna. I think that's great. I mean, I loved some of those references. Having Neil Patrick Harris tell those stories is very surreal. So as a function of the plot, the Toymaker was great, but also as a presence in the episode, he was just fantastic. The accents, the German accent, the French accent, German especially, just nonsense. The using of the German past tense verb, the gepleased, and using it with English words, just ridiculous, just nonsense. And I like that he's not a German character who's getting this stuff wrong. He is a raceless character, a kind of ethnicity-less character who's just doing this stuff because he thinks it's weird and funny and off-putting. And I guess it kind of plays to all of Neil Patrick Harris's strengths as a performer. Like, it's got his kind of comedic stuff, it's got his more dramatic stuff, and then in one sequence, and maybe a few of them, we get his showmanship, the kind of stuff that he's known for on the stage and on the screen, the big, putting on a song and dance kind of thing. The Spice Up Your Life sequence was great. I thought it was... Obviously, I was put in mind of the Master doing his song, but when the Master was kind of camp and everything, it's like, yeah, that's the Master, he's camp. But when the Toymaker's like that, it's like, oh, this is unsettling and wrong, and obviously it's fun and funny as well, but it's like, oh, that's not quite right, I don't like that, but in a way that is fully deliberate and fully everything, is that you never know what to kind of expect from him and what version of him you'll see, and that keeps you on edge the whole time. And the way that those people were killed during that sequence, and is in a way that's like silly but also terrifying. And we're back to everything that was in Wild Blue Yonder as well. Just that balance was really well found, and I think the Toymaker was great. I think also, the fact that he's weird and unique means that it's not just, oh, this is the biggest army of baddies in the world that we have to shoot. It's, how the hell do you defeat this guy, really? It's not your typical finale in the sense that it falls into those traps. It's that we've got someone here who doesn't follow any rules, and how do we beat that? And I think the fact that this is something that was established in the 60s story, the fact that he does follow the rules of the games that he plays, and that being essentially the only way to beat him, is that was really lovely, wasn't it? With the Jeffrey Noble quote about the dice not knowing what they did last time. Really great stuff. I'm kind of glad a big crazy thing happened, because it means there is a bit more to talk about, because really this was, for the most part, a really solid standard, not even solid feels like a disservice, just a great, consistent, quality Doctor Who finale, really, kind of something that there isn't much to talk about beyond, yeah, that's good. What specifically do I want to say? The visuals were quite nice. I kind of, obviously, there was less obvious VFX work being done compared with Wild Blue Yonder, so but I thought everything that I could see looked good and real and good and clever. The puppet work was really, really interesting. I thought the Master Tease was really fun, the two of them, but especially the Series 3 riff. I thought doing that was just so funny. Maybe even the biggest laugh of the episode was, oh God, we're doing this, are we? But very excited for that. There were a couple of other miscellaneous teasers for the future, but yeah. The music was really, really good. As I said, some of the old themes coming back. Clara's theme getting, a bit of play. I was like, oh, I know you're about to do this, but I don't want you to, but I do want you to. Lovely, lovely stuff. The Giggle theme as well. And 15's theme we'll get there. 15's theme makes me very excited for the future. Yeah, it was exciting, scary, strange, interesting, cool, emotional, big, satisfying. It was all these things that make a great finale to a great series of specials. And then something quite strange happened. But I guess it's time to start talking about bi-generation. That was a word that I knew going into this. Unfortunately, there was a leak that was originally shared a lot by fans because it was so ridiculous, and people were saying, oh, look at this isn't real. And then I think the more we've seen from the last few weeks and a couple of other things being released, it's like, oh, that leak that we were laughing at was true. And shockingly, that's not the first time that this has happened. Originally, some Rise of Skywalker plot details leaked, were joked about as a stupid fake leak, and then everyone was like, oh. So yeah, I knew the word bi-generation, and unfortunately, thanks to Doctor Who fans being like, oh, there's going to be quite a shit show going on in the fandom after this episode comes out. People are not going to be happy. I was just like, oh, okay, well, now I can kind of piece together from what I know what might happen, and I think that's really disappointing. I had it in the back of my mind the whole time, so I can't respond to it as authentically as I probably should be able to, and I can't blame the episode for it. I kind of have to treat the episode exactly as what it is. It has also meant that people are making up their minds based on a bullet point series of plot points rather than actually seeing it play out and judging it as a story beat in an episode that exists, which I think is a real shame, because a story is not a series of bullet points. A story is feelings and emotions and the kind of stuff that you're seeing play out on screen. So yeah, it's always for me more about the execution of something than the exactly what has happened in a very Wikipedia article kind of thing. For me, that was my big issue with The Timeless Child. It wasn't necessarily the law ramifications. It was the fact that it was delivered in such a boring, uninteresting episode that just essentially just was two people going, and here is the law that is going to now appear on TARDIS Wiki. So I wanted to go in with an open mind. Obviously, I didn't know exactly what was going to happen. And yeah, it's all about the execution. So, drum roll, I've drawn it out this long. What do I think about the execution? I don't think I liked it. I guess I'm kind of in two minds about it at this point. Yeah, I guess the shock of the Doctor just being blasted by the Toymaker, that really took me off guard. And then suddenly running through my head, oh my god, getting Ncuti to finish the David's final story is such a novel and interesting idea. And we had David kind of have the last words of Allons-y, which was perfect. And in that moment, I was thinking, oh my god, of course, that's ridiculously good, because we had I Don't Want to Go, this kind of reluctance in End of Time, and people have been saying, oh, maybe this whole, 60th return to that Doctor is all about, him going from that to I Do Want to Go. But any kind of thing that people suggested as a last words of kind of I'm ready to go, or now it's time to go, or I'm happy to go, it sounded terrible. The Doctor's catchphrase is the French word for let's go. Why did no one think, oh, hang on, if we want to suggest him excitedly shooting forward, why not use that word that he's been saying all along? That was really, really great. But then he didn't change. He didn't kind of acceptingly move on to the next thing. And I guess it wasn't the Doctor's fault. It just kind of surprised him. And we got Ncuti and David on screen together for the last section of the episode. It's not the final line for this Doctor, because this Doctor doesn't really seem to have one. He is just there now. He just exists with his family, the noble family, the Temple family, and in a way that's lovely. And he gets to pause, and that's been a trend of all this. And I mean, having the Doctor look older, it really drives home that point as well. He looks weathered and he looks exhausted. No offense to David Tennant. I'm sure makeup was involved in that. And if not, I'm so sorry. But yeah, I think having the Doctor kind of, I've been doing this for so long at this point and I've lost so much. I want to pause. And as he said, having people to share that with and, to understand what he's been fighting for and to actually experience life as Uncle Doctor. I think the more I talk about that, the more I'm kind of in favour of it. And it's like, yeah, that is lovely. And it kind of, all that trauma that, it's a ridiculous amount of trauma that a character carries with them, because you can't meaningfully draw into that because there's so much. You can't have the Doctor in, series 12 or something crying about Clara. That was too long ago. But, she would be. That was so sad. That was such a sad thing that happened. All of this stuff, Adric, Sarah Jane, all of this stuff, it would be enough. It would be the motivation. And the Flux, the Time War, it would be the motivation for a character. But because there's so much, some of it has to be buried. And to actually give the Doctor the chance to kind of reflect on that in a healthy way, and in one sense, and then leave it behind in another, is something that I do like. What I don't like, and this could just be, I'm throwing up barriers in my head as a fan, is the fact that there's a David Tennant Doctor just existing, just at the same time as Ncuti's Doctor, and the fact he's got a TARDIS. It's not just settled down with a human life, it's settled down as the Doctor, pretty much. That really, that's going to take getting used to, and no, I don't like it. I think I don't like it. It's hard. It's quite hard, actually. My instinct is to say, God, you've just done the thing I hate from the end of time again. You've literally done, I am here, and then a new man walks away with my memories, and it's not me. And I hate that that's fuel for the fire of this new Doctor. That's not our Doctor. That was what we had with Matt Smith. It was, well, David Tennant's Doctor died. This is just a new man with his memories. And I think that did Matt Smith a real disservice. But you've got that. And not only is Ncuti not our Doctor still exists. He's there. He's over in the garden, just a few doors down. The companion support group is meeting about how, they miss the Doctor. And, a couple of miles away, he's just having dinner with his family. I think it's strange. And I feel, and I don't know what the response is going to be. I know it's going to be chaos, but I don't know where most people are going to fall on this. I worry what it does to perceptions of Ncuti's Doctor. Like, I know we're following this one, but can't we pop back and see him? I don't want a spin-off of Doctor Who that is just the Doctor. I don't think they'll do that. I think I trust Russell not to do that. But this whole time I was thinking, God, this would have been a great send-off and an exciting look ahead if it was a send-off, but it's not. I'm figuring this out and struggling with it on camera, and you can see my thought process, and you can see me go, oh, but I like that, and oh, no, I don't like that. And I think, well, that's the problem with a video like this, but also that's the joy of a video like this, is that you get to kind of not be sure how you feel about something, and I'm not. And I guess I was so uneasy about this whole thing that I kind of struggled to switch off and enjoy what I was seeing. I did rewatch it again, just those last kind of 20 minutes or so, and was able to settle in a little bit more. I didn't love that they just beat the Toymaker by throwing, but I guess that fits with, they didn't do anything clever, but it fits with the whole, it's just a game, and those are the only things that you can beat him with, is the rules of the game as you throw until you drop it. And I guess it was the 2v1 element that really got the Toymaker there, and that was the clever thing that they did, even if they didn't mean to do it. But I guess at that point the Toymaker didn't matter in the story, which again might be a bit of a shame. God, I don't know. There's so much going on in my brain right now, and that's fun, I think. Something that I have no kind of mixed feelings about is Ncuti. I think he has it, doesn't he? He just kind of comes onto the screen and you're like, brilliant, yep, Doctor Who, I want to spend time with you. And in a way, how exciting that we got some kind of extra stuff with him. He's here a bit early. And yeah, I loved, to be honest, God, I'm really kind of going through all the stages of grief here. I really enjoyed the interplay between him and the Doctor, him and David Tennant's Doctor. I loved that they were nice to each other, but in a way that was kind of really loving and everything, and it wasn't a sense of bickering, maybe because they're kind of the same age and it's not looking down at your own youth, or maybe because they don't really know each other as well. There's no precedent for this, is there? That's maybe an exciting thing, and maybe just a strange, weird thing. I do like the idea of the new Doctor coming to help the old Doctor along this journey. And Russell said in Doctor Who Unleashed, he said that he feels that regenerations should be a conversation between the past and the present. And, that's something that Stephen Moffat did as well with the 12th Doctor. He was essentially talking to his next incarnation, and it wasn't a two-way conversation, but this is essentially the next step of that, and that's quite lovely. I did always love that picture of David Tennant and Matt Smith in the same costume on the TARDIS together when filming End of Time, and this is almost a realised in-universe version of that handover. So again, that's something to quite like about it. And also, in a way, bringing Ncuti into this episode in a more prominent role is good for the future of the show, because people that have tuned in just to see David Tennant, they might have fallen in love with him. Obviously, there's the messiness of, oh yeah, but he's not gone, so why would I move on to this next Doctor? But I think having the two of them on screen together and celebrating the past and future of the show is a great thing for the anniversary, because it's not just, look at the olden days, it's let's look at the past of the show, but more excitingly and more interestingly, the future of the show. I think that's really, really fun and exciting and weird and good. And do I like this? I feel like you've witnessed me go on a journey here, and I'm talking myself into it a bit more by remembering more things that I like. And yeah, interesting. I guess this is something that I'll have to maybe reflect more on in the future. Or, we can just talk about it in the comments over the next week or so. I'd obviously let me know if you've had a similar journey with this, or if you're still stuck in one way or the other. Something that works in this episode's favour is the fact that it very deliberately, even within the text, kind of gives us a reason to move on and move forward. One Doctor is kind of sitting with and exploring all the trauma and the events and making these connections that can actually be meaningful and last. The other is kind of free of that burden, and it's kind of the burden has passed to someone else, and it's almost a very meta fresh start for the show and the Doctor, and we're moving into Ncuti's season 1. And I think even if you hate By Generation as a concept, as I thought I did, but again, maybe I don't, I think it doesn't matter so much as something like The Timeless Children did. The Timeless Children came along and said, hey, everything we know about the show has changed forever, and everything that you know about the stuff you've already seen has changed, and okay, goodbye, we're not going to see you for another 9 months or whatever. So we just had no time, no Doctor Who to take our minds off things. It was all just, oh my God, we had to sit with that for so long and worry and speculate and do discourse and be angry and all this. But in 2 weeks, we get a special with the new Doctor. We don't have time to worry about By Generation. It's hopefully what that episode does is, it doesn't mention any of this at all, and just new Doctor, new companion, new series, everything's moving forward, new. This is the episode that you can watch if you haven't seen anything. It doesn't matter that there's a David Tennant somewhere else, because it's a time travel show, and there's a David Tennant and a Matt Smith and a Peter Capaldi all over the place. And that's the thing here, is that this isn't, setting the status quo necessarily, except for just giving us a Doctor, hopefully an unrestricted, burdenless Doctor who can obviously go and have his own new burdens that can then be pulled from in authentic ways. So that's a really healthy thing about what this episode does. And I think comparing that to some of the other big decisions that the show's made, it's something that it's a very deliberately, okay, this is a thing that you may like, you may not, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because the show is and will be still the show. And so yeah, I'm very excited for Christmas, and whatever side of the argument I end up falling down on, I probably won't be thinking about it much at Christmas time, and I can just focus on the new, and that's very exciting, the new. But until then, the giggle. What did I make of it overall? Yeah, good. But not in the good that the Star Beast was. That was, not great, but good for the future. This was really, really enjoyable. Even the stuff that I was going, there was stuff to enjoy within that. And now, as you've seen over the course of this video, that stuff has kind of grown on me, and I hope will continue to grow on me. But that's only a small part of it, is the By Generation. Everything else was great. Donna, she had these great moments of brilliance. Mel, so exciting to have Mel. Shirley, the Vlinks, that's obviously not a highlight. Neil Patrick Harris, one of the great Doctor Who villain guest star performances of the show's history. And I wonder if we'll see him again. That'd be cool. Save him for something special. But yeah, no, I'm all for that. yeah, I think I rewatched both specials this week with my mother, and the Star Beast kind of weakens with every rewatch. As soon as I think now that we've spent time with the Doctor and Donna in a good episode, it's not enough to just have them for the episode to be good. So I think the Star Beast, but again, it kind of doesn't matter because it does all this work to set the stage for the next two specials, and the next two specials were really good. So in that sense, great. Wild Blue Yonder I rewatched, and I think it really is an all-timer. So you get a competent first chapter that, lays the groundwork very nicely. You get an all-time Doctor Who episode, and then you get a finale that's good, that's great, that's everything, that's chaotic and fun, and one of the Doctors is in their pants for the last of the third act. It's multi-Doctor, but future multi-Doctor. And no, you know what? The 60th has been a success. But also, and same point as last point, really. It doesn't matter if it hasn't been for you because it's over so soon. Doctor Who isn't going anywhere, presumably ever. We're constantly, if this was indulgent or too nostalgic, but the wrong kind of nostalgia because you like the Matt Smith era, that doesn't necessarily hold the show back forever, because in 2 weeks, new era, new season in 2024, new season after that, probably a new Doctor some point relatively soon. I feel like Doctor Who is back and it's exciting, and I'm thinking about it all the time in a way that I just haven't been over the last few years, and I'm right back in fan mode. I bought Doctor Who magazine the other day and I was reading that gleefully like a kid. I'm really glad this is something the show has done, and I've really enjoyed it, and I'd love to know what you guys think of both the Giggle and the whole 60th celebration. Maybe even with Tales of the TARDIS included and all the other peripheral stuff. Just how have you felt this was as a celebration, and how have you found these specials in particular? And I, on a personal note, have really, really enjoyed getting back to the Doctor Who side of my YouTube channel, getting back to YouTube in general, and this new format of kind of making the video every week in very quick response has been really fun, and something that I didn't expect to enjoy this much. But, the conversations that I'm able to have, these up-to-date conversations and speculations that I have with people, rather than spending 4 weeks on a video that, comes out in no, timely way at all. That's been really fun, and I really appreciate across both videos and hopefully this one as well, the support that I've got from you, from all of you people, and the conversations that we've had, and the discussions on the format and how I work in an unscripted sense, because that was something I had no idea whether that was going to work or not, and so that's been really lovely. I kind of want to do this for every episode. I kind of want to do this for Ncuti season 1. I think weekly videos, it's only 8 weeks, 8 episodes a season. I think let me know how you feel about that, if that's something you would tune in for, if you want me to save it for big special occasions like this. But honestly, it's been really fun for me to kind of sit with these thoughts and then talk through them in a way that can sometimes change my mind and can sometimes really convince myself or really remind myself what I love about something, or maybe what didn't work. But yeah, I've really found it a great experience, and I hope you've enjoyed watching them as well. So yeah, let me know if I should keep doing these. Let me know everything about your opinions on By Generation, the Giggle, the 60th, Doctor Who as a whole, Ncuti, David, Catherine, Bernard, Russell, all of these things. Please let me know in the comments below. I will be back for the Christmas special in a couple of weeks, so I'm very excited to keep this going. Thank you very much. Love you lots. See you next time.